So this post hit. So living in a world full of misogyny, sexism, and misogynoir, that we see as Black women, some of us, this post from the 2X chromosome definitely hit. She says, the things people say about having daughters. The post, she says, my husband and I were at a garden center picking out pumpkins for decorations, and we walked by two families talking about their daughters. Now, of course, this was all me overhearing their conversation in public, but one family apparently had three daughters and one on the way, and the other family has an unknown number of daughters. The comments were awful. The dad will have to leave for a week, a month. He should find a new hobby to get out of the house more. That's a lot of emotion in the house. Four girls. That's going to be so hard. Girls are crazy. Just a lot of commiserating over the difficulty of having so many girls. I just felt so sad afterwards. The way people talk about their daughters versus their sons is so sad. And yeah, I get it was joking, but it was very pointed humor. Not just having four kids, but specifically four girls. Have we really not progressed past straight up misogyny towards having daughters? Oh, yeah. And at least two girls old enough to understand at least some of these conversations were standing right there. So she asked the question, have we really not progressed past straight up misogyny towards having girls? Absolutely not. We have not. The internalized misogyny of women still wanting specifically to have boys. The fact that girls are still being trained up to be wives by teaching them specifically how to cook and clean for their husbands, while boys are not. Boys can be full humans. Girls are raised to be servants. The fact that we still talk about women and girls' biological functions as if we're toxic or have something wrong with us. No, we have not progressed. But for this reason, I like to love on my daughter just a little bit more. I like to hug her just a little bit more. For the daughters, for the children that we didn't get a chance to be because we were so like toxic or just an irritant or I don't know. I don't know. But I think that the women who are deprogramming and unpacking that misogyny and trying to push past that sexism have to do just a little bit extra for the daughters that we have right now so that we can get past all of this and unpack it. All of these jokes are deplorable. Let's just call it what it is. Stop joking about women and girls being such a burden and then wondering why adult girls go no contact. Or stop wondering, then we can stop wondering why women are opting out of relationships because we're such nags or such a burden to be around. Is it any wonder women are just opting out or quiet quitting relationships? Y'all can weigh in on that, but let's look at some of these comments. Fantastic Apple says, yep, I'm the only girl in my family. My brothers have both been in trouble repeatedly with the law in high school, and that's just the stuff that they got caught doing. I had one speeding ticket. I also worked multiple jobs and took care of children from a young age, while they did not. I am simply more responsible. Despite my parents openly acknowledging this, they still sat around a table with my brothers and my sister-in-laws and proclaimed girls are harder than boys. Like the whole table universally was like, oh yeah, girls are the worst. My middle brother and his wife had a girl as their first child, and they actually apologized to my parents and his wife's parents because their kid wasn't a boy. I don't think any of them realized how this might have sounded to me, the only girl in the family who was expected to be better than them, even as a child. But I certainly haven't forgotten. And once my parents are dead, I won't lose any sleep not talking to them anymore. Jesus. Y'all better, yeah, y'all are sitting up here raising people that despise you based on how you talk to them. Bijou says it's a lot of hard work holding girls to standards you don't hold boys to. It's no wonder boys are so easy when you don't actually do anything to raise them. Granaya says, my youngest brother graduated high school the same year I graduated college. Days before he was to finish, We found out he hadn't completed a final project and he needed this to be able to graduate. My parents are divorced, and we saw my dad 1 to 2 times a month and lived with him during the summers. He was visiting for our graduation, and when he found out about the project, he started going off. Kept blaming my mother for not being around enough to keep my brother in line. In all honesty, she wasn't around, but not the point here. I got so angry and said, I graduated high school and college and had no one there to hold my hand. Why is brother not being held to the same standards? My dad couldn't answer me. My younger brothers got away with murder. I got grounded for the smallest things. Character Peach says, blaming the full-time parent for not being around enough when he is there 3 to 6% of the time. LOL. Men's entitlement to women's labor rears its head again. Glad that she highlighted that. Granaya says, yes, it is rich, but my mom also left us every Friday to Sunday to be with her new husband, so she wasn't exactly a poster parent herself. Stay-at-home mom says, my brother, the middle child, had to get a 65 district set pass or fail, whereas my sister and I got our butts beat with additional consequences if we got less than 90s, and 89 would have been months of grounding. That that is terrible. Boys can just pass. Girls have to do much better. And they're wondering why girls are outperforming the boys. It's because we have these standards set so high, whereas boys just get to get born and just get to float through life. It's amazing. Renaya says, when we started driving, the rule was we weren't allowed to drive with friends in the car for fear of being distracted. I used to collect my friend on the way to school as I drove by her house, and one day my car broke down in her driveway. I was grounded for 2 months, and the car was taken off me, and I was made to get the bus to and from school. When my younger brother, the middle child, was caught driving his friend to school, he was told it was okay because they had been friends for so long and was let off. Unequal consequences definitely will breed resentment. Now, this is a story. Juggling Geese says, my cousin and I were the only girls in our cousin base with 9 boys. We were just like you, helped with everything, cleaned, cooked, and were well behaved, kept quiet, and never got in trouble. 6 of the boys were always in trouble with school, the police, etc. They were constantly grounded. My family was always so stressed because of the boys. My female cousin and I just made ourselves smaller so to not add to their stress. Yet the adults always said the same thing. Girls are harder to raise. I did everything I could to not be so hard for them, but was still inherently difficult. It was so confusing that I swore I would never have kids, since us girls were somehow still more difficult than all the trouble the boys brought. After I moved out, my family told me they were hurt that I never wanted kids and wasn't going to continue the family line. I told them it was because I grew up hearing girls were harder to raise than boys, and the boys were monstrous. I didn't want the stress they voiced so often. That's when they told me what they meant. Apparently, they worried about us more because of how mistreated and misunderstood women are as a whole. They worried that our confidence and strength would get us hurt. They never explained their fears and instead allowed us to believe we, as a gender, were difficult. So basically, instead of teaching the boys to be better in appreciating women, they let their kids hear how difficult girls and women are. Needless to say, my brother and a few of my male cousins never had a working relationship because the women are difficult. It took a long time in my moving thousands of miles away from them to recover and learn to be okay with not being perfect and not trying to be easy to handle, to learn it was okay to be confident and strong and messy and human. I am so sorry. It sounds like you have lived a similar life. I'm glad you also got away. I really do hope someday you're able to let go of the hurt and manipulation and remember the same actions that label women and girls difficult are the same actions that label boys and men leaders. Go forth, be strong, fantastic apple, be difficult as F. That was an amazing comment, and it really does just pull everything together. Women are not difficult. We are human and we make mistakes. We are allowed to be loud and confident and assertive and all of that. And I hope that you are too. And teach your daughters how to be loud and Be big. Don't shrink yourself because society says that we're difficult. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, and share. And I just wanted to give you guys a little palate cleanser. This is my little mini me. And I'm doing just a little bit more with my daughter, hugging her a little bit more, teaching her to show up for herself and be loud and not shrink because of society telling girls that they should. She will not be programmed with any of that. No, sir. No, ma'am. All right, y'all. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. I was sent this post, and the person that sent it to me says she doesn't think that I've talked about this, but I have talked about this and how music is so unenjoyable once that feminist thinking clicks in. Everything that you start to watch and think about from times past has a level of sexism and misogyny baked into the cake. And it's because movies, music, shows were written by men, and like even the women leads were written by men, and what they believe is romance is written by men. So when you start to come into your own, your feminist thinking, equality and everything, and you start to think that is not reasonable, it's because a man wrote it and it's like literally part of our programming. That's why a lot of us were raised as pick me's, because these men wanted us to be clamoring for them. Now, let's get into this post. Now, I will say this, talking about music and some of these references, I don't always know this stuff, but I am glad that other women of other cultures with other musical taste or whatever are unpacking the exact same time. I mean, are unpacking their musical taste or their thinking at the exact same time as the rest of us. So that definitely makes me happy. So this was posted in the 2X chromosome subreddit. She says, the reality of women's issues has made so much music unenjoyable for me. And she says, recently the song Drive by Train has stuck in my head. I used to love the song when it came out 12 years ago, but now it just rubs me the wrong way. It said, a quote from the song, on the other side of the street, I knew stood a girl that looked like you. I guess that's deja vu. But I thought this can't be true because you moved to West LA or New York or Santa Fe or wherever to get away from me. What did he do to her to cause this? She had to totally drop her life and move, potentially to an entire opposite coast of the USA to get away from him. And she didn't tell him where she was going. He doesn't even know. Is he unsafe? Something horrible would have to happen for me to quit my job, move across the country to escape a man, and not tell him where I went. Or maybe it was not about that at all, and he's just totally absorbed, thinking the world revolves around him. Another is Treat You Better by Shawn Mendes. Tell me why we are wasting time on all your wasted crying when you should be with me instead. So she says, so you are a wolf in sheep's clothing, pretending to be a caring friend, pretending to comfort her, but your only goal is to sleep with her. She is heartbroken and you see it as a waste of time. She is crying and you're mad at her for not seeing how much of a gentleman you are. She says one more. That's What I Like by Bruno Mars. A whole song about how well he treats his woman. Lucky for her. He likes that lifestyle because that's the only reason he would ever treat her. It's not for her enjoyment, not because he loves her, but for him. That's what I like. That's what, okay. I mean, I can see that. Sometimes I feel like I'm becoming too bitter. They're just silly pop songs, but the older I get, the less I enjoy them. I guess she says, I'm grateful for Chappelle Rowan. Deprogramming is messy. It is. It makes you see all of the misogyny everywhere. I'm obviously a Black woman, and I came of age in the 90s. So the 90s and early 2000s, when I was in college, all of the music, oh my gosh, y'all, thinking back to the song from Jay-Z talking about money, cash, hoes, money, cash, hoes. So women were put in the same category as money and cash because we are simply something to acquire. And once I started thinking about it like that, the whole wife appliance theory of mine just fell into place. Everything about us is just simply to be bought and sold. We are no different than a car to them. Money, cash, all they talk about is their cash, their jewelry, their cars, and getting women. We're not humans to them. We're something to procure. And then, once we are past our expiration date, once we have aged out, once we have a few dings and dents and life happens, they get to replace us like they would a car. You really have got to sit down and think about all of the programming that we have had. And so many women get upset with women who are pick me's or still, get trying to get the head pats of men. This has been programmed into us since the time that we were children to be caretakers and to clamor for the attention of men and boys. So it's going to take a few generations to unpack all of that. So you got to have some grace for these women because it's insidious thinking about all of the TV series and the movies where women were just like trying to be picked, trying to wear the perfect outfit, get her hair perfectly right, her bangs to lay just so she could get chosen. We have been programmed. This is indoctrination and it's insidious when you think about it, especially when you know and understand that the writers, the directors, the people who choose the clothing are all men and they are tailoring everything for the gaze of other men. Public domain kitten says music, books, films, television, entertainment of all kinds. Once you recognize misogyny for what it is, you realize how pervasive it is. Absolutely, it's everywhere. Manic Maneeds says, there was a realization I made in my late teens that all of the fictional women I looked up to and modeled myself after, who I wanted to grow up to, were written by old men. It shifted my outlook and caused me to seek out more positive role models written from female experience rather than male fantasies. Basil Killer says, I had this thought a few years ago, Googled feminist detective novels. It was really eye opening. Women were described as looking like their siblings or parents. The real mystery, I never found out what their boobs looked like. Totally ruined the experience. Like, obviously, I knew the detective novels can at times be problematic, but the contrast was pretty shocking. And one, the women talked about what me and my friends talked about, and two main characters decided not to date because the protagonist wasn't in a healthy space mentally. V says, drives me crazy how reading voraciously as a kid gave me an internalized male gaze. Like, I'll never know how I'd see other women if I didn't have it hammered into my brain how men see women. It shouldn't make me feel this bitter. I know it's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but like, someone put it perfectly, and I'm going to mangle the quote, but it's like, even when we're having incredibly intimate experiences like X with a partner, it's hard to stop thinking about how they are experiencing us instead of just having the experience. Public Domain Kitten says, it's a shame that I can't upvote this comment multiple times. J. Mai says, there's some female authors I've been rereading lately, and I've noticed how the leads are very pick me. Whenever there's another character, female character, they always have some bitchy drama against the main woman, even if men don't follow toxic masculinity. Robot Atomica says, I really want to know why men insist on writing as female characters. Like, what is the draw there? Because they really don't understand our perspective. And half the time, it just ends up seeming motivated like propaganda to push the idea that we are the way they describe, that we are flattered by being hit on, for instance, that we find it romantic for a man to not give up, that our lives are completely free from any impacts of patriarchy and misogyny and being hunted, or we're victims, but in some weird fetishized way, or is so on the nose that we're like the badass girl bossing being a victim. I think 90% of the time when men write female characters, frankly, I think they're jerking off to them and making up a fantasy of a woman for themselves, if I'm being honest. And that is so true. And that's the reason why you hear men talk about what women want, and you could tell that they have never talked to a woman. Not in any kind of way where you could tell that they actually listen to women. All right, y'all, join the conversation on this. Let me know what you are unpacking from your cultural upbringing, the references you have, because like I said, we're not going to all have the same cultural references or the songs or whatever. So join the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. So the Nevada subreddit reposted this post from the Alaska subreddit, and it's talking about the life expectancy in America, and it's using this map and the color coding. So the red is the average age of death is almost 67 if it's red, and the bluer it gets, it pushes towards 87 years old as far as how long people are living. Let's look at this map just a little bit closer. So, like I said, the red is the lower life expectancy. And it's so strange that there is so much concentration in red right here and over here in Alaska. And obviously some of Nevada as well, because Nevada reposted this, so they were interested in this. But it's so strange that this red area is also a red area, like in this, like the Bible Belt, and that's where a lot of red states are concentrated. And these are the people that rejected, affordable health care. These people are in these red states, and the red states literally are the most impoverished. Like most of these states are very, very poor, but they keep voting GOP. They're very poor. Their health care is pretty terrible, and rejecting they keep rejecting policies that might help them, all because of Republican policies. They vote in these Republican politicians, and they fight against their own health care. And it's really odd. And I'm totally sure that the poverty, the lack of education, because many of these red states are also really ranked really low as far as education goes as well. So rank low on education, healthcare, and infrastructure, all of that. And it's showing up probably with the life expectancy numbers. So this top map is a map of the states that went for Biden versus the states that went for Trump. And if we look at this concentration of red right here, is a lot of concentration of red right here. And obviously, I'm sure there's all kind of other factors to put in place and talk about, but it is literally the terrible healthcare system in these red states, the lack of education and the lack of infrastructure. All of that is baked into the cake. The brain drain, the things that happen when people left the South because of the racism and moved away. There's a lot of brain drain in many of these states down there, and it is impacting their quality of life. I just wanted to bring out this map. I thought that was interesting, all of that red. You guys can go ahead and weigh in with your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.